Good afternoon. I am Vanessa Thomas with the 12 o'clock news on the street, 919 FM, and online Facebook and YouTube, sponsored by the Sea Champion. In the headlines, the Ministry of Education assures that all systems are in place for the upcoming SEA exam on July 1st. Government to pay out just over $100 million in severance benefits to employees of Caribbean Airlines. More rain expected as a disturbance affects us midweek. And internationally, White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says the Delta variant will spread unless more Americans get vaccinated. And now the news in detail. The Ministry of Education is assuring that all systems are in place for the upcoming SEA exams due to take place on July 1st. While concerns continue to be raised regarding the health and safety of the educators and students involved in the process, Education Minister Dr. Nyan Gatsby-Dolly assured that plans along with contingency measures are in place. Gatsby-Dolly says if a child is sick or is in quarantine, they would be allowed to sit the exam on July 21st.
So parents would have to be in contact with the principals and indicate the circumstances so that students can be accommodated for the makeup exam for the SEA.
6,000 SEA stationary kits have already been distributed to students of approximately 180 primary schools throughout the island. Over 19,000 children are expected to write the upcoming exam. Meanwhile, Chief Education Officer Lisa Henry David said repairs on schools have been ongoing, and with the exception of 2 schools, full repairs will be completed by June 28th.
Arrangements have been made for students of those 2 schools to be comfortably accommodated at neighboring schools.
In other news, government will pay out just over $100 million in severance benefits to employees of Caribbean Airlines once the retrenchment process is completed. This from Finance Minister Com Imbert as he was responding to a question in the Senate yesterday. Imbert said Caribbean Airlines is currently finalizing the exact number of employees who will be affected by the cutting of staff. He said Caribbean Airlines does not have the figures to pay out severance packages, so it will be financed by the Ministry of Finance.
The Ministry of Finance at this time, which is subject to finalization, is in the vicinity of $110 million.
Minister Imbert said when TNT's borders are reopened, Caribbean Airlines will have a reduced jet and ATR fleet and will serve fewer routes. The minister said when the borders are reopened, passenger demand is not expected to return to pre-COVID levels until around 2023.
I'm advised, and I must say I am saddened by all of this. This is not something that any of us would have wanted to see. I'm advised that Caribbean Airlines is going to reduce its jet fleet to 8 jet aircraft and its turboprop fleet to 5 ATRs.
In more news, the Met Office advises that the adverse weather alert remains in effect until 5 p.m. today. It says rainfall activity of varying intensities will continue with the high chance of 80% of isolated to scattered thunderstorms. The threat of street flooding and or flash flooding will be present during these periods, and gusty winds in excess of 45 kilometers per hour may be experienced in the vicinity of heavy showers and thunderstorms. Citizens are asked to monitor weather conditions and updates from official websites. Internationally, White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says the Delta variant will spread unless more Americans get vaccinated. But Dr. Fauci says there would be regional surges of the coronavirus instead of the nationwide spikes in transmission seen last year. At a White House briefing on COVID-19 on Tuesday, Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health said 20.6% of new cases in the U.S. are due to the Delta variant. He and other scientists tracking the variant say it is on track to become the dominant virus variant in the U.S.
There are 16 states plus the District of Columbia have vaccinated greater than 70%. 4 U.S. states have vaccinated less than 50. And so between them, you have 30 states between 50 and more than 70%. And those are the individuals that we need to concentrate on. But let's take a look at what the challenge is. Next slide. If you look at the growing threat of what we're all concerned about, the Delta variant, what do we know about that variant? The transmissibility is unquestionably greater than the wild-type SARS-CoV-2 as well as the Alpha variant. It is associated with an increased disease severity as reflected by hospitalization risk compared to Alpha. And in lab tests associated with modest decreased neutralization by sera from previously infected and vaccinated individuals, but efficacy, as I'll get to in a moment, is something that is held up. Next slide. Let's take a look at the UK, because we have followed the UK in so many respects with regard to the B117 Alpha. But look at what's happened to the UK from February to June, i.e. this month. The gray shading was the B117, the Alpha. Look at how the Delta in red completely began to dominate the isolates throughout the UK to the point where it's well over 95% now.
And that was the 12 o'clock news on the streets, 919 FM, and online Facebook and YouTube, sponsored by the Sea Champion. Recapping the headlines, the Ministry of Education assures that all systems are in place for the upcoming SEA exam on July 1st. Government to pay out just over $100 million in severance benefits to employees of Caribbean Airlines. More rain expected as a disturbance affects us midweek, and internationally, White House coronavirus advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says the Delta variant will spread unless more Americans get vaccinated. Stay tuned to the Streets 919 FM. I am Vanessa Thomas. Do enjoy your afternoon and please be safe.